Oh my god. And Shokio put up a video. What's going on, everybody? Long time no see. And I have a lot of things I have to talk about. But just so I'm not doing, one or two insanely long videos, I'm probably just going to, I'm just going to do like one or two, maybe three topics, per video. I have a lot of stuff to get caught up on. But in this particular video, I would like to discuss this whole third-party dilemma. And of course, this is nothing new, but, with the recent happenings with Ubisoft and whatnot, there's been this recent resurfacing of the whole third-party support fiasco for Nintendo and the Wii U. And I'm also going to be talking about the new 3DS, which is a highly requested video that a bunch of people have me on Facebook, have asked me to do. So I'm going to be talking about that as well. Before I get into the actual topics, make sure you guys check out GameRealm.com for all your gaming and tech news. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter. Make sure you add me on Facebook. And if you're a Smash fan, make sure that you subscribe to Attorney Locator on YouTube and follow or subscribe to them on Twitch if you guys want to see some Texas Smash action. We primarily a Project M. It's primarily a Project M stream and whatnot. But when Smash 4 comes out, of course, we will be playing Smash 4, and that will probably most likely be the primary featured game. But anyways, moving on to the actual topics at hand. First, let's talk about this whole third-party stuff. I'm sorry if the lighting is all weird and the camera is weird. This is a different new camera I'm using, and based off this video, it looks like it's really, like, I don't know, like grainy or something. Hopefully it doesn't turn out that way. But let me just first off say this to my fellow Nintendo fans. Guys, it's time to stop getting surprised. I look tired as hell right now. Stop being surprised. I don't understand how, sir, some of you wake up every day to the news that this multiplat's not coming to the Wii U and this multiplat's not coming to the Wii U, and you get angry at it every single time. How many instances is it going to take for you to realize that Nintendo is not going to have the third-party support this generation? You see what I'm saying? Why are people continually expecting, and not all of you, but some, continually expecting these third-party games to come to Wii U? I don't understand. Might as well just, and I know it's negative to say, oh, here Shokio, being a negative Nancy as usual, go away, YouTube is fine without you. It's just the truth. They're really not going to have third-party support this generation. You might as well just dash your hopes right now and just have them for the next generation, because it's not happening this gen. Like I said, I just don't understand how you guys are like shocked over and over and over and over and over again. It's like you still don't get it after all this time. You know what I mean? So Nintendo fans, stop getting shocked, stop getting mad. I don't see how you get mad over the same thing over and over and over again without learning. You see what I mean? But to this whole third-party thing, right? Because, of course, we have the Nintendo fan base talking about the Nintendo conspiracy. And, of course, we have the people who aren't the Nintendo fan base talking about there is no conspiracy, you guys are bullshitting, you're just a bunch of crybabies. And probably have to play devil's advocate here, because both sides are sort of kind of correct. I'm going to explain why, right? There is no Nintendo conspiracy in the sense that, well, companies are conspiring, right? Actually talking to each other. Hey, let's fuck over Nintendo. I'm pretty sure that's not going on. I'm pretty sure there are not conversations between these third-party developers, even between themselves, in their offices or whatever, where they're like, no, F Nintendo, we're not going to put this game on Nintendo because Nintendo. I'm pretty sure that's not happening. But when you look at what some of these third parties say, on the other hand, there is an obvious bias against Nintendo. But like I said, though, that doesn't necessarily mean there's a conspiracy, because when you guys use the term conspiracy, you're implying that, well, there's some conspiring going on, between parties or, in the offices or whatnot. And I don't think it's to that level, but there is an obvious bias, and I'm going to explain why. Ubisoft, for instance, we all know this is pretty much the last stronghold Nintendo had, when it came to third-party support. Like, Ubisoft was their biggest supporter from the beginning. There's actually quite a few Ubisoft games on the Wii U, but they said that as of right now, Watch Dogs is the last mature game on the Wii U. Like, the only games they're going to put out now are games like, Just Dance and other stuff that appeals to the casual crowd. But anyways, Ubisoft came out and they're pretty much like, Nintendo fans don't want our games. They're pretty much saying that the sales pretty much indicate that the Wii U fan base, the Nintendo fan base, does not care about our games. Now, I watched a video from, I forgot the channel's name, Strictly Nintendo. I believe that was the video, and he did a video response directly to Ubisoft, and he did exactly what I was thinking, because you guys know I love doing this. I love getting the numbers, I love getting the data, and I like making the comparison, comparatively, ratios with the sales to the install base. And that's exactly what Strictly Nintendo did, and he actually showed that for all these Ubisoft multiplats, right, the Assassin's Creed game or the Splinter Cell game or Zombie or whatever, right, whatever Ubisoft game is on the Wii U actually sold just as much, and in some cases even more comparatively, talking about ratio wise, on the Wii U than it did the PS3 or 360, and some of them even the PS4, and Xbox One and whatnot. Now, and this guy is really smart. I really enjoyed his video because he wasn't an idiot about it, right? Now, although he pointed this out, that hey, look, comparatively, given the install base, these games, Ubisoft are actually selling just as much, sometimes even more on the Wii U than the other systems. Despite the fact that he pointed that out, the guy was smart. He was like, but at the same time, 70K is still 70K. You see what I mean? 70K sales on a, what at the time, like what, 6 million install base, whatever, and that's compared to like 2 million on the PS3 install base. This isn't exact numbers, whatever. I'm just giving an example. Like, those are similar sales, right? That's the same ratio, whatnot. But when it comes down to sales, when it comes down to just business or whatever, ratios don't matter so much when it comes to these companies, when it comes to these businesses, because 70K might be the same ratio as 2 million or whatever on the PS3 or on the 360 install base, but 70K is still 70K. It's still 70K sales. 2 million sales out of 100 million, possible users, 100 million install base is still much better than 1 million on a 2 million install base. You know what I'm saying? That's a much better ratio, but 2 million is still 2 million. 2 million will be better than 1 million. It will give them more profits. And that's why I really enjoyed the guy's video, because he was smart enough to point that out so people didn't get carried away saying, oh, look, see, it sells just as much, so you should put your game on this system. Because he made the point that even if a game does sell well, relative to the total install base possible, the total possible consumers, if they're not making a huge enough profit margin, then they're not going to really deem it, worth their time, pretty much. Even if a game does make a slight profit, companies aren't looking for slight profits. They are looking for at least moderate profits, or most of them really these days, it seems like big-ass profits. Like, they don't even like moderate now, these days. So that's pretty much what the guy said in the video, and that was exactly what was on my mind. That dude was spot on. Shout out to him. So, but anyways, I forgot to actually even explain why I've said there's a bias, whatever. It's the reasoning that most of these third-party developers give. Because, like I just said, Strictly Nintendo, he pointed out that, oh, look, although it's selling just as well, comparatively, the sales are still low and the profit margins aren't as high as they would be. But notice, he's using that excuse, which is a legitimate excuse, but the actual companies themselves aren't. You see what I'm saying? They're not saying the real reasons as to why they're not bringing these games to the Wii U. And that is where the problem lies. That is where the problem lies. They just won't be straightforward and honest as to why they are doing the things that they do. And that is what leads me to believe that there is a bias. It's not the simple fact that these games aren't coming to the Wii U. It's the fact that 99% of them are scared to actually give the real reason. And when companies do that, it kind of gives a sense of, well, do they feel a little bit of guilt or something? Or do they know they're doing something jacked up or wrong? See what I mean? Because why not just go ahead and be honest, right? I remember, who was it? The Just Cause developers or the Dead Island developers? Or both of them. I can't remember. But one of those or both of them had said, we're not bringing our games to Wii U because we just don't think an audience is there for us. Or we're not bringing our games to Wii U because it's just too weak for what we want to do. And you know what? those companies didn't really get much rage if you think back on it. They didn't, because those developers were blatant in what they said. You know, they were blunt, straight to the point. They kept it real. They kept it honest. They didn't try to give no bullshitty excuse or whatever. They didn't say, oh, Cursed Island. I said Cursed Island, Cursed Mountain. I was thinking Dead Island. I combined Cursed Mountain with Dead Island. They didn't say Cursed Mountain, though. It didn't sell well on Wii U, so that's why we're not bringing games to Wii U. They just said, we just don't want to because we're not feeling the system. And that's cool. That's fine. That is fine. They were honest. Notice there was no big, you know, shabuttal, you know, surrounding what those developers had said or whatever, because they were honest and what they said made sense. You know, but when you have Ubisoft, you guys remember I did a video a while back titled, "Is Ubisoft lying about Zombie U?" And actually, I'm spending a lot more time on this topic matter than I thought I would. I might have to just leave this as the only topic for this video. I didn't think I'd have this much to say, but back to that video. Is Ubisoft lying about Zombie U? And they're pretty much saying that they're holding off on doing a sequel, or they don't want to do a sequel because they didn't make profit off of Zombie U. He said they didn't make profit off of Zombie U. Now, I showed a quote where Ubisoft themselves actually said that Zombie U was a low-budget game. And it was originally, for those of you who don't know, a 360 title, a 360/PS3 title that had gotten ported over and reskinned for the Wii U and was turned into Zombie U. And that happened in like 6 months, right? So it was a last-generation game ported over into next-generation hardware that was already a low-budget game to begin with and sold $700K. And they were talking about they didn't make a profit off it. And that is bullshit. They made a profit off that game because anybody who has played that game, and this isn't a knock to the game, I enjoyed the game. It had its flaws, you know. It wasn't the best, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid game. But anybody who has played that game can tell you that game did not have a big budget at all. I mean, the game only had one melee weapon with the same animation over and over again. It had some flat textures in certain areas, some really low-res textures. Like, it was pretty bad in some areas. And in some areas, it was really good. But for the most part, you could tell the game did not have a big budget. Right? So, here's where the problem lies for me and some of the other Nintendo fans, for those of you who don't get it. It's the dishonesty of these companies, right? Like I said, the Just Cause developers, I didn't give them any flack, you know, because they were real, right? They were real niggas about it. You see what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we just don't want to develop on Wii U because fuck that system. That's pretty much what they said. Hey, that's cool. But when Ubisoft makes a statement like, Nintendo fans don't want our games, although they're selling just as well comparatively on the Wii U than the other systems, that debunks their statement. So it can't be that Nintendo fans don't want their games because they actually have showed that they wanted those games. And another thing that proves that the reasoning they gave was bullshit was the fact that they said, oh, but we'll still do Just Dance because Nintendo fans have shown us that they like Just Dance, so we're going to give them Just Dance. But I can't remember which one it was, 3 or 4. I'm pretty sure it's Assassin's Creed 3. I believe, if I remember correctly, from Strictly Nintendo, in his video, he showed that Assassin's Creed 3 actually sold more than Just Dance. I think it either sold more or just as much. But either way, it debunks what Ubisoft is saying completely. Because how are you going to say, oh, we looked at our Assassin's Creed sales, and Nintendo fans don't want our game. Oh, but we're going to give them Just Dance because they want that, when Assassin's Creed sold just as much or more than Just Dance. You see what I mean? That makes no sense. And that is the only reason why I am saying, if it weren't for this bullshit reasoning, I wouldn't say there's a bias, but that makes it obvious, confirmed. If they're not giving the real reasons, if they're trying to make up excuses and all that dog shit, there's an obvious bias. Not a conspiracy, not, you know, conscious conspiring between developers, like Ubisoft calling up EA, hey EA, got any plans on how you want to fuck over Nintendo next? You know, I don't think all of that's going on. But it's obvious that these third parties are a little bitter towards Nintendo, and a little bit in their defense, it's not entirely all their fault. It's not. Some of these developers are complete bullshitters, you know, such as EA. You know, even Activision's not even putting Call of Duty on the Wii U anymore when, you know, that they put that game on everything. But especially with EA, we all know EA just completely bullshitted because they dropped Nintendo before the Wii U even came out, you know, so they were definitely on the bullshit list. But, you know, some of these developers, you know, they kind of have a little bit of legitimate reasoning as to why they're bitter, you know, toward Nintendo. I know a lot of you guys, a lot of you, more defensive Nintendo fans don't want to hear this, but Nintendo does have a history of making things difficult for third-party developers. The N64, they did the cartridges, not the CDs, which had higher development costs, was hard to develop for. The GameCube decided to go with mini DVDs, which kind of complicated things a little bit for some developers. With the Wii, of course, dramatically underpowered system that didn't even support HD. And while the Wii U is a pretty capable system, the third-party developers still don't want to put in the work it'll take to downscale their games to Wii U. They want DX11 equivalent features out of the box. They don't want to have to go through the trouble of doing all this conversion and downscaling and all of those things, yada yada yada, so on and so forth. Not to mention that the Wii U does not have a hard drive, and a lot of developers like to exploit the whole hard drive thing, but that's actually kind of a good thing because that means that developers can't put half-finished games on the Wii U and expect to do patches on it later. But at the same time, maybe that's a bad thing because that's probably the reason why a lot of these games don't come to Wii U, because developers know they can't patch them with bullshit patches because they released a half-baked game that is incomplete at launch. I know that was a lot, but yeah. So those are my thoughts on the whole third-party fiasco. Nintendo fans need to stop getting mad over the same shit. You should be over it by now. You should know what the deal is. There is not a conspiracy, but there is a bias. And the problem is not necessarily these games not coming to Wii U, but the problem is that these developers are being completely dishonest. And it is bullshit that Resident Evil Revelations is not coming to a Nintendo system, considering I believe the 3DS version sold the most. So I think they're actually missing out on a grip of money not putting that on at least the 3DS. You know what I mean? I don't know where I am in this video, but let me talk about the 2DS real fast. Not 2D, 2DS, not that piece of toast. The new 3DS real fast. God, I hope this video isn't like 20 freaking minutes long. I hate doing long videos. But I don't have much to say, so it should be quick. Here's my deal. Because a lot of people have been asking me, Shokio, bullshit or not bullshit? The new 3DS is bullshit if you have an XL. If you don't have an XL, you just have a regular 3DS, I don't really see why you'd be mad, because chances are if you only have a regular 3DS, like a day one 3DS or whatever, chances are you were wanting to upgrade anyways, right? So this new 3DS is great for us. I don't have an XL. I still have a regular DS. But for those of you who might have just bought an XL, yeah, I can understand why you guys are mad, and I would say that you guys have a right to be mad. And Nintendo is just putting us in a really forceful situation, right? Because they're coming out with these bundles, right? They're going to have a Smash 3DS bundle. They know people are not going to be able to resist that. But we're going to buy the Smash 3DS bundle, right? And then some months later in 2015, it's in March or something like that, or in the summertime, bam, the new 3DS comes out. We're going to have to buy a new 3DS, right? So Nintendo's just kind of forcing their consumers, a certain portion of their consumers to kind of upgrade, And yes, you're not forced. I'm not saying forced in the literal sense, you have no choice. Of course you have a choice, but you guys know what I mean by my use of the term forced. You know what I mean. Now, one counter argument to that point though, is that, well, Nintendo will most likely have an awesome trade-in deal, which is true. That's true. Nintendo will probably have some trading deal. If not Nintendo, these individual retailers will probably have some awesome trading deals. You see what I'm saying? So even if some of you guys did just buy an XL, or you just can't resist that Smash 3DS, at least when the new 3DS comes out, I'm sure there's going to be some great trade-in values where you could trade in, a 3DS XL and get $100 off, or something like that, where you won't have to pay much. For those of you who have a regular 3DS and an XL, if you trade both of those in, you could probably be able to get a new 3DS for close to free. You might have to end up only paying 10 or 20 bucks, if there's a trading deal for both of them, both the 3DS, older 3DS models. But me personally, am I getting it? Yes, because like I said, I don't have an XL. The new 3DS has a C-stick. That is awesome. I definitely want that for Monster Hunter, because Monster Hunter is really hard to control on the 3DS if you don't have the Circle Pad Pro, which is a clunky, ugly looking piece of bullshit. And of course Smash, C-stick for the smash attacks. I'm pretty sure certain things are going to be kind of harder to execute with the circle pads, such as, smash attacks and whatnot, so I'm glad the C-stick is in. And then I want Xenoblade Chronicles on the go. Now I would I would have rather preferred that game on the Wii U because that game looks beautiful in HD. I played on Dolphin. Xenoblade is beautiful on Dolphin, but just imagine if they actually gave a remake on a console where they actually touched up the textures and stuff, like, you know, gave it HD textures and stuff like that. That would look amazing. Um, but I do want Xenoblade on 3DS. I love Xenoblade. I can't get enough of that game. I played all the time, and I've already beaten it multiple times. So yeah. What other games are going to support it? But I don't think they really announced any. But there's going to be future games that are going to support it, and there's going to be exclusive games for the new 3DS, and that's mainly why it has a lot of people pissed off. So for the people we're talking about, I don't see why everybody is mad, guys. People do have legitimate reasons to be mad at the whole new 3DS thing, because again, in a sense, in a way, it is kind of forcing people to upgrade to it, having exclusive titles and whatnot, and not only exclusive titles, but even multi-platform titles. It is kind of weird that I use that term for the same system, but even multi-platform titles to the 3DS and new 3DS, they're going to be superior on the new 3DS because the new 3DS actually has a stronger CPU, it has more RAM, and of course it has a second control stick, which is great. But one last thing I want to say about this whole new 3DS situation is that it's just another example of how Nintendo's reservedness, I'm pretty sure that's not a word, but I guess you could say reservedness, you know, with their hardware initially, you know, it always just ends up, well, I mean, it doesn't bite them in the ass because they end up making money, but you see how they're so reserved with their hardware at launch, and then they come out with all these things later. Like, yo, Nintendo, if you just get this stuff from the get-go, you won't have to come out with these revisions. You see what I'm saying? And all these additions and stuff and these peripherals. If you just put an analog stick on 3DS in the first place, you wouldn't need the Circle Pad Pro. You wouldn't need the new 3DS, right? If you just, you know, beefed up the 3DS a little more, you wouldn't have to put a stronger processor into it, stuff like that. If the Wii Remote was what you advertised it to be in the first place, you wouldn't have needed the Wii Motion Plus. You see what I'm saying? If you would just put more storage into the Wii in the first place, you wouldn't have had to have you know, done all that SD card update stuff and enabling, you know, SDHC cards. You see what I'm saying? It's just more evidence that Nintendo needs to kind of just be more aggressive in what they do. You know what I mean? Just come out the gate, make the system the best it can be. That way you don't have to do all this revision crap, possibly have to go through all this, you know, damage controlling, whatever, all these fans being mad and stuff like that. Yada, 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 yada. But I dragged this video long enough. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys later. Peace.